Before his execution, Thomas Kane confessed to 13 murders, but one victim's identity remains a mystery. Despite his admissions, her name has never been revealed. Why? What is he hiding, and why has this case never been fully uncovered? Subscribe now and stay tuned for the full story. The truth might be darker than you think. Before his execution, Thomas Kane confessed to 13 brutal murders, but there's one victim whose identity has never been uncovered. For years, investigators and the public alike have been left in the dark, wondering who she was, why her name was never revealed, and what Thomas Kane was truly hiding. Kane's case became infamous for its shocking confessions and eerie calmness with which he admitted to his crimes. Each victim he spoke of had a story, each one linked to his twisted need for control and his methodical, cold-blooded approach. Yet, one confession stood out as more sinister than the others. The year was 2004 when Thomas Kane was arrested, ending a terror spree that spanned nearly 2 decades. For years, police had been hunting for this elusive serial killer, whose victims had been scattered across several states. He had the perfect mask, a respectable, quiet man who blended into society with ease. No one suspected him. But once the authorities caught him, the truth was shocking. At first, it was the usual. Kane spoke in detail about his victims, where he found them, what they were wearing, how he planned their deaths. Each confession was methodical, almost clinical, as if he were recounting mundane daily tasks. But then something strange happened. Kane hesitated. When asked about his last victim, a young woman he referred to only as the one who got away, his expression changed. He became cold, distant. When pushed for more details, he simply refused to speak. For years, investigators tried to break him. They interrogated him in every possible way, hoping to get just one more piece of information that could lead them to this mysterious woman. Yet every time he clammed up. Kane would not reveal her name. He wouldn't even describe her in detail, beyond a few cryptic statements that only made things more confusing. Investigators turned to the usual tactics, revisiting his known haunts, talking to his former associates, even tracking down old acquaintances who may have had some insight into his life. But none of them knew anything about her. She wasn't listed among his known victims, and there were no known connections to any of the other 12 cases. She was a complete unknown, a ghost in his story. As the years went by, rumors began to spread about the woman, fueling even more speculation. Was she someone Kane had loved, or someone he had regretted killing? Was she a victim of circumstance, or was there something darker at play? Some investigators wondered if this woman had been someone Kane had tried to protect, someone who had ties to his own life in ways he was unwilling to confess. There were those who believed he had loved her. They speculated that he couldn't bring himself to tell her story, perhaps because he felt a strange affection for her, or because her death had left him with unresolved feelings. Others believed it was something far darker. Perhaps she was a woman who knew too much about his other crimes and had to be silenced before she could reveal his secrets. However, as time passed, the investigation grew cold. With no new evidence, no body, and no witnesses, the case was officially closed. The woman's name remained a mystery, and her disappearance became another unresolved question in the case files. Thomas Kane's final interview before his execution was perhaps the most chilling of all. Sitting in a dimly lit room, his eyes were vacant, his face emotionless, as he recounted his crimes. But when the interviewer brought up the name of the mysterious woman, the final, untold story, Kane's demeanor shifted. He became visibly agitated, his fingers twitching, his voice barely above a whisper. He muttered something about her eyes and the silence, but he quickly stopped himself, looking toward the camera as if he knew he had said too much. The interviewer pressed further, asking Kane why he refused to reveal her identity. Kane's response was cryptic, filled with contradictions. At one point, he seemed to almost regret what he had done, but at another, he spoke of her as if she had never existed at all. "I didn't kill her like the others," he said, his voice wavering. "I left her to fade away." He paused, almost as if waiting for the interviewer to say something, but when no response came, he added, "She's better off forgotten." That was the last mention of the woman. Kane was executed shortly after, and no further information came to light. To this day, there are countless theories surrounding the identity of Thomas Kane's final victim. Some believe she was a woman who had a personal connection to Kane, a woman he knew before his killing spree began, someone he couldn't bear to fully acknowledge as a victim. Others believe she was a random stranger, someone whose death had no particular significance, but whose silence served to haunt Kane. There are also those who speculate that Kane's refusal to name her was because she was somehow connected to his life in a way that could unravel his entire story. Was she someone who had once tried to expose him? A woman who had been close to revealing his dark past, only to meet her untimely end? Was she, in some twisted way, a warning, left without an identity to prevent anyone from ever uncovering the full truth? It's possible that the woman's death had nothing to do with his other victims. Perhaps her murder was simply a means to silence a voice that could have threatened everything he had worked to conceal. Whatever the truth is, Kane's actions suggest that this was a different kind of victim, one whose story he refused to tell. The case of Thomas Kane's final victim remains open-ended, a chilling enigma that will likely never be solved. His confession to 13 murders may have brought some closure to the families of his other victims, but it left more questions than answers when it came to the woman he could never speak about. As time goes on, the mystery of her identity continues to haunt those who study the case. Who was she? Why did Kane keep her name hidden? What secrets could he have been hiding? For now, these questions will likely remain unanswered, buried in the shadows of Kane's final confession. But one thing is certain: Thomas Kane's refusal to reveal this last victim has left a legacy of mystery that still lingers in the air.